gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Democratic View. I'm the hostess. My name is Phyllis Italiano, and with me today I have a man who I think I write to maybe once a month because he is from Clearwater Beach, which is where I live. He does a wonderful newsletter, and I give him a recipe all the time.
Who writes letters anymore? So I get a letter every month.
Is Gerry Giliberti, and he is a member of the board of Clearwater Beach, which is a community in the tip of Long Island. And he also is a photographer and a musician and a multi-talented guy.
Try to keep busy these days.
Hey, that's an important premise. So
Clearwater Beach, though, I came across that. I was originally from Nassau County, in Bethpage, and I came out to Hampton Bays in the early 70s playing music, I had a band, and one of my friends was playing out here and didn't want to travel back and forth, and we started to play, and we started staying over with the bartenders who were going to Southampton College. And eventually we rented our own house and we started to live out here. And I was finishing college, and I got a special ed to work at Hampton Bays High School to finish my degree. And I ended up staying out here,
But where were you born and raised?
Well, I was born in the Bronx.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, 33rd Street and Bronxwood Avenue. But I was 4 when we came out to the island, And my grandmother had an apartment house, where she lived on the bottom. My mother and father lived on the 2nd floor. My uncle lived on the 3rd floor, and they rented another one to, a neighbor or something. So we came out, and I grew up in Bethpage and went to Plan H High School, which is in North Massapequa. And eventually I got out to Hampton Bays with the band, and I started working out here and going back and forth. And eventually I found a piece of property. I originally wanted to live in Southampton, but I couldn't afford anything. And so I found this piece of property in Newsday. I was reading, they used to list properties. So I came out to Clearwater, and at the time, it really was more of a retirement community, wasn't a lot of younger people there. But, I had accumulated some cash from playing music and stuff, and so I purchased a piece of property, and eventually I built a home there. And that's how I got out to Clearwater,
Wonderful.
Yeah. And then one day, I'm at the Springs Fire Department, they have the breakfast.
Yeah.
I missed that. They should start it again. The COVID really kind of squashed that. But
yeah.
I'm sitting at a table, and George Lombardi's at the table, who was also on the board.
Yes.
And he started talking to me, and I said, "Oh yeah, I live there." And then he said to me, "Well, the person that's doing the newsletter, because I was working as a technical writer for Siemens of Germany. I was in engineering, and so that's what I did for a living." And so he said, "Oh, you do writing and things like that?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, the woman who's doing it is a bit older now. Her eyesight's not too good. Maybe you should come to one of our meetings." And then they hooked me in.
I've been to those meetings.
And so I started seeing how they did it.
Yeah, those meetings are very interesting. Many people sitting around.
And eventually I got involved with the newsletter, and then eventually got on the board. And then eventually I was the president for a couple of seasons there. And I'm still doing the same type of thing. It's where you live, so you want to, you want to keep it nice and.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel so lucky. I know I've said this many times on my show that once my son said to me, the best thing I ever did was buy that house that I live in. And it's true.
Yeah.
It's a lovely community, and it's nothing commercial.
Yeah, I mean,
We're very
even
lucky.
in the midst of the summer, on a Tuesday night, it's calm. There's not much
Yes.
going on.
Yes.
So it's kind of nice. We're lucky we live on the East End. There's so many nice things here.
Especially if you're a swimmer like me.
That's right. Yes, I know. You told me, and you probably you finished for the season.
I did a jump in not too long ago, 2 days ago, before the rain.
Yeah.
Yes. And maybe I'll do another one,
Wow.
because there's nothing better than the taste of salt water.
I guess so.
And we are
I-
so lucky to have our beautiful area
Yeah.
with
yeah.
that Gardener's Bay. I always call it Phyllis's Bay. I mean, Gardner can stand aside. It's my bay, But, it's one of the great things that we have out
Yeah,
here.
there's so many things. One of the things I did get involved in when I was out here, because I always did photography since I was a little kid, and I did commercial photography and weddings and all that kind of stuff. And I got involved with a photography group that was here that was originated with a man, Tim Lee, who was passed on, a good photographer. Actually, I worked with him for a couple of years as an assistant to him. But they had a photo group, and they used to meet, where the pizza place is now in, at Springs Fireplace Road. Right next to that was his studio. And they used to have meetings there with other photographers.
Oh, yes, I think I remember that.
Yeah, and so that's how I got involved in the art
Yeah.
crowd, that was out here. And I got involved with Ashawak Hall, and eventually, actually, I'm on the board of that as well. I was off of it for a while, and I just got back on it a couple of years ago.
Ashwan Hall?
Ashawak Hall, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, this summer, actually.
Beautiful place, by the way.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
great. It's amazing that we have that, and it's affordable still for people to do different events. This summer I curated a show, the 54th annual Springs Invitational Show, with my friend Nick Tarr, and that was a lot of work. And so I'm keeping busy with that, and I have a photography group that I've been involved with that started with Tim Lee, and eventually over the years people left, whatever, and I just sort of kept it going, the East End Photographers Group. So we have an annual show at Ashwaubenon Hall, and we do something in Watermill and different places. So I keep
I
busy
think
with
I've
that.
been there to your
You've been
show.
to a few of those
Yes.
openings, yeah.
I have, indeed. Actually, I love them. I think they're really quite wonderful, the way it shows off the talents of people, who are living in our communities.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work, but you get to know the people in the community, and you always meet somebody new, and you see what they're doing, and sometimes it influences what you're doing. So it's just such a great place to live, especially if you're an artist or a musician.
Yes,
too.
that's the other part of you that people may not realize about you.
Right, yeah. Yeah, since I'm like 10 or 11, I've been playing the drums and been in bands, and that's how I got out here,
Playing the drums, your
Playing.
family must have loved that.
Yeah, well, they were very nice. Kept us off the streets, Put us in the basement, and we'd practice in the basement and all of that. So they're very nice to do that.
And that was where, in Bethpage?
That was in Bethpage, yeah. My uncle was a sax player in the union and all of that, and my mother played the piano a little bit. So they were very nice about it. They liked it. My uncle would always send me some music books and things, and so they were very encouraging. So I continued to do that, and again, I used to play in nightclubs and different types of rock clubs, and I played weddings and bar mitzvahs and all that type of stuff. I still have been playing with some local bands. I was playing with Joe Potter, who's local, and
Yes, I know Joe.
Bluesky, the judge. I was playing with them for a while, number of years, and I played with some friends on the North Fork as well. And I do have my own little trio, and we're going to be playing locally soon. I wanted to talk to you about that.
Yes, tell us about that.
Oh, well, the Masonic Temple in Sag Harbor, which is the Whaling Museum. But actually, I think the Masonic organization, I think they own that building and rent to the Whaling Museum.
Uh-huh.
So upstairs,
Yes.
they have this area. It's a really beautiful area.
I know it. I've been there
Oh,
for
you've
classes.
been there, yes. And they have that John Capello artwork that's all in, on the ceiling and all of that, the mural.
Yes.
And they've been doing a music series. So a number of bands come and play, individual musicians, duos, things like that. They come and play and give little concerts.
Uh-huh.
And we raise money through that for, I do have a list of some of the people, for the Pearson graduate scholarships, local food pantry, and a lot of other things like that. They raise money through these concerts,
Pearson's a great high school, by the way.
Yeah.
I know it, being an educator. It's a wonderful school.
Well, I actually did some substitute teaching, because I do have a teaching degree in art and elementary ed.
You do?
Yeah.
Where did you get that?
Well, I went to Farmingdale initially, for Farmingdale University for graphic arts and advertising, and went to New York Tech after that. And then while I was there, when I needed 4 credits to get my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from New York Tech, and I was living in Hampton Bays, so I didn't want to go back to the Westbury campus, the Brookville campus. So coincidentally, my department chairman's wife was the librarian in the middle school, the elementary school. And she said, well, you could do your 4 special credits here working with the art department. And so I did that and got my degree. And I said, I have this art background. I should, get a certification. So I went back to school and got my 36 credits, to get my certification.
Where? What school did you go to?
Art. I went back to Dowling.
Oh, certainly. I know Dowling very well.
Yeah.
It's
And
closed now.
then I got my degree, my certification, and really couldn't get a job. It was like, forget it. There were no jobs available,
Yeah.
for art teachers at that time. It was the mid-'70s, So I went into electronics. There's all these electronics things going on the island, with Grumman's and Republic. So I tried it out. I took a little 6-month course, tried it out, and then went back to Farmingdale to get my engineering degree. I got like a 2-year engineering degree and started working in the field. And I did that for many, many, many years until around 1994, when Grumman's and Republic, they all left Long Island. All those big places left the island and went down to North Carolina, Florida. So the state offered this program. They wanted to keep technical people in the state, so they offered this master's program in education. So I got involved in this program, and they paid for my master's degree. I went to Dowling and got my master's degree in education.
Paid for your master's degree?
Yeah,
Ah,
it was
jeez.
yeah, and they paid for the master's degree.
My father paid for mine.
And it was a special program to wanted to keep technical people, in the state, and they created this program, and I got involved in it and qualified for it. And I took a year off. I rented part of my house out here, and my mother was still alive at the time, and we had like an apartment upstairs. And I lived there a few days a week and came back out here and went to school back and forth. Did that for a whole year,
Wow.
and got my degree. And I started working as a substitute teacher, and we were working at the Ross School.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was teaching math at the Ross School because I had a bit of a math background, so I was teaching math over there. And eventually they did hire me, and I was working, and then they had a big upset. They were changing everything, and it was going to go co-ed. And they brought someone in from the United Nations school, and they just changed everything, let a lot of people go because it was going co-ed. They wanted you to have, if you were teaching math, they wanted you to have a math degree. If you're teaching science, because I was doing math and science, and I only had my degree in elementary ed and art, because I was teaching 5th grade and 6th grade.
Sure.
So that's how I was doing teaching. So going back to Marshall, I did some substitution there before I worked at the Ross School, and I remember I did some gym classes and different things like that. I mean, at Sag Harbor, not Marshall. I mean Sag Harbor School, the elementary school there.
Oh yeah, that's a good school. I know.
Yeah, I was trying to bring that back. That's where we started.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm surprised I remember all this. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
So you have quite a lot of background in education. I never realized that.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the photography?
That started when I was in 2nd grade. First, 2nd grade, I got one of those box cameras, little plastic camera.
Yeah.
Started taking pictures, and eventually I learned how to develop film, and I created a dark room in my parents' house, in the basement. I had an enlarger, and I did all of that, and I learned all about, photography that way, and eventually bought a better camera, and then bought a really professional camera, and I met a friend, and we started doing weddings, and we were doing weddings for people who had been divorced and just wanted to have a small wedding. We're getting married again, that type of thing. To get started,
I know it
didn't want
well.
to spend a lot of money.
Done it many times.
That's how I eventually got started in doing that, and then I still was doing some of the music work. So I knew a number of caterers, so I was able to get in and get some wedding work with the photography and do both of that. Yeah, I'd have a job during the week, and on the weekends I'd walk around in a tuxedo. I'd be either playing a gig or I'd be doing, doing a wedding, type of thing. So the photography really was the first. That was the first thing I was always interested in. Before the music and everything. The music started when I was around 9 or 10. But photography was the first thing,
Really?
Yeah.
So you call that your most basic love?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Music, second, but.
You ought to do what I did. I count my hours that I have. For instance, I say I have 2 master's degrees and 140 hours. Because that's good to know off the top of your head, to be able to tell people you're a very educated person,
Yeah,
And you are a very educated person, much more than I would have known, and I deal with you all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, the degrees are great and all that, but I have friends that you just graduate high school, and they do some things that I could never really do successfully, and have businesses and things like that. So, the education is good if you can go that way. If not, you can go into trades or other things like that. People become very successful doing that. That was just one of the things. I think my brother and I were the first to go to college in our family. Besides, my mother took some college courses and things. But
me too. I was the first in my family.
Yeah.
On my mother's side, not my father's side. My father's side was much more educated, but my mother's side, I was the first to graduate at college. And how did you get involved in that wonderful thing that you do?
Oh, the newsletter. Well, that goes back to George Lombardi and the breakfast over at the Springs Fire Department. Yeah, I got kind of sucked into doing this, and I met with the woman who was doing it, and she gave me the lowdown. At that time, they're doing paste ups. It wasn't even electronic at that point. They're pasting everything up, and people would give her typed out.
Wow.
and then I'd have to either retype it, or eventually I would start putting it into Word documents and things like that. But I would take all of that information, the president's message, and the secretary's message, and the dock master's message, and the recipes, that you do, and I'd get all that together, and then I would give it to the man who would actually put the actual newsletter together, and we discussed maybe graphics and things that would go in, and we'd have people who would advertise in it, and eventually he would put it all together, and I'd edit it, 2 or 3 times. We'd have to go back and forth. There's always something missing.
Hold it up a minute, because I want people to see that this is what he produces for the area that I live in. I don't know that any other group or any other area has their own newsletter like that.
I'm sure that they must have something, but I'm not sure, And actually now, with thinking about doing everything electronically, putting the newsletter it's on the website, but they're talking about maybe stopping or cutting back on the actual paper. We do have a number of new board members, and they're very tech savvy,
Yeah, but they don't understand that is such a valuable thing
Right.
for the area.
Right.
I mean, that is really a newspaper of our area.
Right. Yeah.
And, as far as I know, newspapers still work.
Yeah,
Look,
I like to have the paper and all that. The cost of it is high, but what I think they're going to be doing in the future is going to be asking people, do you want the paper newsletter, or do you want to just get it from the website, which is always put on the website. But so I think next year they're going to start looking into that to save thousands of dollars on printing and mailing. It gets pretty expensive.
Yeah,
so
do you think they're going to cut our dues down? Because our dues are always going up.
That's true. Yeah, but I remember when we first started, it was like $25, but really for the amount of money that we pay for those dues, for what we get, it's there's a beach there and a marina and all these other types of things, and now we have a bocce court, and
A very nice bocce court, I might add.
it is, yeah.
And the preserve is is lovely.
Yeah, it's taken care of. It costs money to do all that, and
But for all the people that live there,
yeah,
most of them pay the dues, and the dues are always going up.
yeah, they've always I think a couple of years there they didn't go up, but they've been always going up, and I guess the way they figure out how to pay for things, I know we had that bulkhead put in.
Yeah.
And that was a major expense
Yes.
to do that. And now we're hoping that the people on the other side
Yes.
will finish their bulkhead, because it'll collapse. And
Yeah. Lion's Head.
Lion's
So
Head.
what is your future going to be? What do you decided you're going to do in the future?
What am I doing?
Is it going to be music? Or is it going to be photography? Or is it going to be?
I've been doing both. I do the music, and yeah, we're going to have this concert at the Masonic Temple, and it's this Saturday coming up.
Yes.
November.
And where is that temple?
It's on Main Street in Sag Harbor, and it'll be at 8 p.m. It's where the Whaling Museum is. You go through the front door, but you have to go upstairs. So that's Saturday at 8 p.m. on November 13th. Also, another thing, December 4th and 5th in town, in East Hampton town, they have the Santa Parade in the morning of December 4th, which is Saturday. Well, there'll be vendors in the park, and my band, Out East, that's the name of the band, will be playing in the park.
Herrick Park.
Yeah, in Harris Park, with the vendors. They'll be there. And then actually on Sunday, they're going to have the vendors again. And so they've asked us to play again. So hopefully the weather would be like today, 60 degrees or something. And so that's coming up. and that's always a great event because you get a lot of kids and parents with their kids with the Santa Parade. I think that starts like around 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, I don't remember. And then everybody kind of filters into Herrick's Park.
The park.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that park. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful little
Yeah,
park.
and they're doing a lot of
Yeah.
renovations to that park too.
Yeah. Yes, they have brought it up. And so,
So what am I going to be doing? I'm doing the photography. I actually have someone, Karen Mannix, who handles my photography on First Dibs, it's called. So if you look up Gerry Giliberti, my real name is Gerard, so you look that up, and a lot of my photographs are there. So I've been working with her, and then we have our little shows that we do, and it also gets you off your butt to do something new. You're always thinking about doing something new. I was going to take one of those African safari trips. I was supposed to go. I said, well, I might as well go. I mean, what am I going to do? Wait till I'm 90? But it got canceled because one of the guys that was running the trip had eye surgery and couldn't do anything for a month. So we were going to do that in October. So they moved it up to March of next year. And so it's kind of expensive, but I figured I might as well do it before, I can't.
before you can't.
Jerry,
thank you so much for coming.
Okay,
It was
thank you for
wonderful.
inviting me.
Well, listen, I mean, I send you those recipes all the time. Thanks
Okay.
for coming, and
Thank you very much.
keep
I
going.
appreciate it.
Keep doing new things.
I'm always, I'm always
That's what
surprised
keeps
at
you
your
going,
energy.
and that's what keeps you young.